The chaotic and increasingly dangerous crime sprees are now unfolding in more cities: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Minneapolis.
The recent wave of mass smash and grab robberies at stores across the country appears to be getting worse.
They're protesting a lot of things: the pandemic bill, the controversial pandemic bill.
They're really criticizing science because I represent science.
I am science, says Dr. Fauci. Ridiculous interview with him over the weekend. COVID mandates are getting heated. Protests all around the world, as well as smash and grabs throughout the country, specifically in California and your big major metropolitan areas. Talking about all of that coming up and more on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! That might be the only brown guy in Earth named Jobob.
That is actually her name, Jobob.
Live from a dingy bunker completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. Today is November 30th, the year of our Lord 2021. We've got a lot to talk about. Dr. Fauci claims that he is science. He represents science, despite all of the science. Dr. Fauci said some ridiculous things on Face the Nation. Face the Nation did like a 45-minute segment with him. We're not going to talk about Omicron or Omicron or Omicron, as some people who are intentionally irritating like to call it. Not going to talk about all that much, but there is some stuff to update you on. But I really need to get to this smash and grab stuff. Have you been watching the news the last couple days? This is absolutely ridiculous. There's been a spike in smash and grabs in retail stores, mom and pop stores, big commercial stores all throughout the country, and it is absolutely off the rails. Watch this clip. We're just going to lay this out. Watch the clip first, then we'll talk about it.
The chaotic and increasingly dangerous crime sprees are now unfolding in more cities: San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Minneapolis. On some of the busiest shopping days of the year, flash mobs with upwards of 80 people armed with hammers and crowbars are smashing and grabbing their way through high-end retailers as terrified shoppers and employees are threatened with their lives.
We built this thing with our hands. This is our baby, and so just to see it violated is it's crazy.
So, like we were talking about at the beginning of this thing, right before we played the clip, and we'll get back into this clip, I do just want to bring a couple things to your attention. More than 6 smash and grabs in Southern California just over the last weekend. Several in the Bay Area, Minneapolis, Chicago, Philadelphia, all over the place. There have been smash and grab robberies in retail stores. And right now, a lot of people are covering the big Nordstrom stores or the Home Depot stores that are getting raided by career criminals and organized crime. But what's interesting might not be the best word. What's terrible is the fact that there's a lot of mom and pop stores also getting hit with these crimes, with this crime wave that is just smash and grab into stores. Let me play this clip further from NBC News so you can kind of see the variation of people that are getting hit by this smash and grab crime wave going on throughout the country.
While well-known luxury retailers are often targeted, including those here on Rodeo Drive, it's often small businesses paying the biggest price.
After this scene in San Francisco's Union Square, a mom-and-pop jeweler was robbed of $250,000 in goods in 3 minutes. Another retailer nearby is now spending $30,000 a month on 24/7 security. The cost of doing business could put many out of business.
It is absolutely organized crime. It does look like chaos, but it is really very, very organized and choreographed.
In Oakland, while a news crew covered smash and grab crimes, their security guard was shot and killed.
Get on the sidewalk!
To prevent another disaster, some are reducing hours and allowing fewer people inside. For far too many, the most joyful time of the year is quickly becoming the most dangerous.
So this is going on throughout the entire country, and it is a part of a bigger, broader scope of a culture shift that just allows people to do whatever they want. I think it kind of all started last summer in 2020 when people protesting for probably some righteous causes ended up looting and rioting cities across the country. And what did the police do about it? Almost nothing. And that is where we have this stem of cultural allowance for these mass mobbed organized crimes to break in and steal whatever they want, whenever they want. On Wednesday, robbers attacked a security guard and stole a designer handbag worth an estimated $25,000 from the Nordstrom store in the Westfield Topanga Mall in Canoga Park. Also, a flash mob suspected entering several stores on the 850 block of Beverly Hills in the Beverly Center, grabbed merchandise without paying for it, and ran off, LAPD said. Those crimes are just 2 days after the smash and grab robberies by a mob of at least 20 people at the Nordstrom in the upscale Grove Shopping Center in the Fairfax district. They fled the scene in at least 4 vehicles. If you're watching the news, you're seeing this all over, and especially like the local news. I live in California, so I'm inundated with California local news. There were 6 in one day in Southern California, and it's just going on and going on and going on. I want to talk about the reasons for it. And again, I know this is a national show. I know people are watching from everywhere. I just saw comments. Somebody's watching from Florida and Texas and all that sort of stuff. And I really appreciate it. And the reason I'm talking about California stuff is because there are politicians, wherever it is that you live, that are pushing the same ideology and the same policies that exist in California that are causing things like this. If you notice, a lot of the cities being mentioned, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Chicago, Minneapolis, not conservative-run cities. As a matter of fact, most big cities are run by your wokest of the woke, your leftiest of the left. And it's showing. The fact that these are happening in all of these big, major blue metropolitan areas is a simple diagnosis of the fact that liberal policies and these soft on crime policies are not getting anywhere good. In California specifically, AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, all of those props and assembly bills, all they did was lessen the punishment for crime and lowered the standards of crime, as well as minimized jail sentences for people committing crimes. Essentially, they legalized crime here in California. And it's unfortunate that it's happening where I live, but I do believe in laboratories of democracies and states trying different things. What I would hope is that states like Texas and Florida and your Midwestern states that are run by more conservative law and order politicians or governors or governance, I would hope that those states would look to California and go, yeah, we're not going to do that here, because California has effectively legalized crime in a ton of ways. On top of that, you have DAs in the biggest cities in the state of California, in biggest counties in California, Los Angeles County and San Francisco County, that are just not prosecuting. There are crimes that are against the law that people are breaking constantly, but the prosecutors in those areas, Chesa Bodine up in San Francisco and LA County George Gascon is the LA County DA, just aren't prosecuting. So not only are the crimes lessened, but the crimes that people do commit aren't being prosecuted by your super woke DAs of your super woke cities and counties. Lo and behold, smash and grabs are consistently happening in San Francisco County and in Los Angeles County. On top of that, bail reform. Have you heard the term bail reform? Bail reform is another huge issue that has been swirling around the political spectrum for the last couple years. However, so if you don't understand bail, if you get arrested for a crime, you can pay a bail fee and get out until your court date, and then you're required to show up for your court date. And when you show up for your court date, then your bail money is returned. Bail is set at different prices for different people depending on the crime. The whole argument with bail reform is that, well, some people can't afford to get out of jail. Yes, that's correct. And richer people who have money to pay bail get out of jail more quickly. Yeah, that's also correct. Yeah, both of those two things are correct. Is the bail system perfect? No, but if you're committing a crime and get arrested for that crime and are set to stand trial for committing that crime, should you just be allowed to willy-nilly go onto the streets? Bail reform has turned into bail abolition. We've completely eliminated cash bail in a lot of instances in California. And again, I only say this so that people... Again, I'm telling you, there are people wherever you live, if it's Wisconsin, if it's Oklahoma, if it's Kansas, Texas, Florida, Wherever you live, there are politicians where you live saying, we need to reform the bail system. And the way they're planning on doing that is by eliminating it entirely. Los Angeles Times had a big piece about a year ago saying that California has completely eliminated cash bonds for some certain instances. On top of the whole bail reform thing, remember the Waukesha murderer guy who drove his vehicle through the parade was out on an extremely small bail. He was out on $1,000 bail for attempting to stab and running over a woman in the same car he used to kill those people in the Waukesha Christmas parade. So, does bail reform need to happen? I don't know, maybe, but reform definitely doesn't look like total abolition of it. If you're going to commit a crime as heinous as running somebody over with your car, you shouldn't be let out onto the street on $1,000 bail. There's also those famous New York Post stories where they have people in New York committing a crime and then being inconvenienced for 2 or 3 hours, getting their fingerprints and smiling for the camera and their mugshot. Then they're back out on the streets committing a different crime the same day. We all know that bail reform should not mean bail abolition, but that's what they're doing in California in so many different ways. Let's see. Also, there's this whole idea of we need to build schools, not jails. No, we should build exactly the number of jails that we need. If however many criminals we have willing to break the law, if you're convicted of breaking that law, that's the amount of jails that we need to have. However many criminals there are willing to break the law that we've all agreed upon, that's how many jail cells we need. If we've all agreed on the rule of law, we vote for elected officials. Those elected officials represent us and what we believe to be the actual rule of law. Now we have DAs completely disregarding the rule of law and allowing stuff like this to happen and a culture of crime to continue to permeate through American culture. I wanted to get to this. So what's the point of telling you all about this? You're seeing this everywhere else. You're seeing all of this on the news. You're seeing this in so many different places, smash and grabs, looters all over the place. So I wanted to ask, what can you actually do? Well, I found this. This is from Rodriguez Law Group, which does criminal defense in California. They say the California Penal Code the California Penal Code 198.5 PC explains that a person will be presumed to have reasonable fear of imminent harm when someone unlawfully breaks into their home. If the person, while in their home, uses deadly force to protect themselves or their family, it can be justified as self-defense. We just saw a huge self-defense trial in Kenosha, Wisconsin with Kyle Rittenhouse and all that thing, and fortunately, the jury stood up for self-defense and you have the right to defend yourself. I don't actually know the laws when it comes to breaking into a mom and shop retail-owned store, and that concerns me a lot. For personal reasons, I have a huge fear of people breaking in, having a culture of people breaking into family-owned retail businesses. I think that is hugely detrimental to any sort of society and any sort of culture that we're living in. But we're trying really hard to get a legal expert on here to at least notify people who may own a family business to at least let you know what you're allowed to do, because it's not safe anymore to be in the retail market, especially in these areas of high crime. You saw in that video clip that a guy named Kevin Nishita, father of two, grandfather of three, was shot and killed while protecting a TV crew covering the surge of smash and grabs. So Chiron 4 in Oakland, California was covering the smash and grabs. And while they were covering it, they got accosted by a mob trying to steal their stuff. Fortunately, it was hopeful that it was a fortunate situation that they had a security guard with that. But unfortunately, that security guard got killed in the process of trying to protect the camera equipment that was being sought after by these criminals. This is absolutely crazy. If you remember, there was a clip several months ago, maybe even a couple of years ago, in San Francisco, where they were covering smash and grabs in cars on the streets of San Francisco. And while they were covering the smash and grabs in the cars on the streets, the news van got hit, and they stole all of the equipment out of the news van. I think it was like $50,000 of news equipment stolen out of the van. Same situation here. Chiron 4 News in Oakland was covering the smash and grabs, and they themselves were then the victim of theft. And unfortunately, the person that they hired to protect them, a retired police officer, Kevin Nishita, was killed in that instance. This is a problem that we're all going to have to deal with at some level or another. This is a problem that is sweeping across the country. Criminals have realized that we don't have the rule of law. They're looking at things like the national culture, the federal culture at the border. They're saying, well, if 100,000 people a month can just come into the United States and break the law and nobody's getting prosecuted for it, yeah, maybe we'll just go ahead and do whatever it is that we want and have no fear of being held to account for our actions. Let me see if I can get into some comments here. I know it's look, there's some people saying Steph says it's Biden's fault. Yeah, maybe it is. It's Biden's doing. Look, the president doesn't set national standards for law enforcement. They're trying to, but fortunately right now, a lot of the law is up to local control. What I would say is at the hands of Joe Biden is this soft on crime attitude that's coming from the White House. It's coming from a lot of your Democrat leaders in Congress. This whole, we don't build schools, not prisons. No, we need however many people are willing to commit crimes, that's how many jail cells we need. We need more prisons if more people are willing to commit crime. It doesn't mean we should lessen the standard for crime, because we've all agreed on what is a crime and what isn't a crime. And if you break those laws that we all agree in, you deserve to go to jail. If we don't have enough jail cells, the solution isn't, well, let's just let more people out onto the streets. That won't have an effect on crime at all. No, the solution is build more jails. But the attitude coming from the federal government and a lot of your federal Democrats, the White House included, is that, well, everybody is a person. Nobody is a criminal. This criminal is just something that people unfortunately do. They're experiencing criminality. But that is the problem going on. I want to play this last clip. This is from Jake Tapper's show on CNN talking about the smash and grabs. It's interesting, this specific smash and grab that he mentions. Watch this.
The recent wave of mass smash and grab robberies at stores across the country appears to be getting worse just in the last few days. Police in Minnesota say at least 30 people robbed a Best Buy store there. Multiple incidents have been reported in California, including one where as many as 10 thieves made off with sledgehammers and crowbars from a Home Depot.
So a bunch of people robbed a Home Depot, and what did they take? Crowbars and hammers. What do you think they're going to do with those crowbars and hammers that they looted from the Home Depot? I'll tell you one thing. They're not doing woodworking or building a bench in their backyard. No, they're going to use those tools to loot other places. This is the problem that we're having. People are so emboldened that brazen crime is just a thing that we have to deal with nowadays in American culture. And they're just stealing the tools that they're going to use to steal from other places. If I were a local business in that area where the Home Depot got ransacked, I would be worried sick that they're going to use those hammers and crowbars that they took from that Home Depot to break into my store. This is the thing. Now, should crime be tolerated at any level in your major retails? No. But we're going to see something terrible happen at a mom and pop store. And not that the looting isn't terrible already, but somebody's going to get hurt in a mom and pop store. And maybe, I don't want to say that's what it's going to take, but something bad is going to happen that's going to spark a national wake-up call that says, okay, we need to crack down. We need to crack down now. Enough of that. I want to get to this. This is somewhat of lighter fare, but not necessarily. Dr. Fauci was on Face the Nation. They did like 45 minutes with King Lord Fauci, the leader of the Wokesheviks. Listen to this. So Dr. Fauci is getting political. He's been a little bit political, but I want you to listen to how he phrases this. He's talking about some of the criticism that he's getting from a political side. He's saying, well, this is just political. This is all political. And there's 3 clips here. The last one is the most hilarious one. So if you're watching, just stay tuned for the last one. But the first clip, he's responding to Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, saying, look, you've been lying to the American people. You've admitted to lying to the American people, and you need to be held account for that. Listen to this.
Senator Cruz told the Attorney General you should be prosecuted.
Yeah.
Because he should.
I'd have to laugh at that. I should be prosecuted. What happened on January 6th, Senator?
Do you think that this is about making you a scapegoat to deflect from President Trump?
Of course. You have to be asleep not to figure that one out.
Huh? So wait, Dr. Fauci thinks criticizing him is not because he's doing a terrible job. It's not because he's lying to the American people constantly. It's not because he covered up his whole involvement with the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It's not the fact that he's still pushing this came from a bat in a cave in Wuhan thing. It's not any of those reasons. The reason that people are criticizing you is because it's a scapegoat for Trump, who's no longer the president. Does that really make sense? But Dr. Fauci there goes and says, oh, this is all political. People shouldn't be getting involved in politics. This is all political. Sorry, that's what he says in the next clip. This clip, he's saying, what happened on January 6th, Senator, as if that has anything to do with the fair criticism of Dr. Fauci. Fauci is blatantly getting political right here. And then he says this, which is interesting.
It seems another layer of danger to play politics around matters of life and death.
Right, exactly. And to me, that's unbelievably bad.
So there's Dr. Fauci in the first clip playing politics, and then she asked, well, what about the politics side? It's unbelievably bad that people are playing politics. Dude, you just were doing that right there. Bet says Fauci equals deflecting. Yeah, he's deflecting. Michael says arrest Fauci. I don't know about that. Well, there's an argument to be made there. I'd like to see some concrete evidence of why we need to indict Dr. Fauci. Maybe it exists. I don't know. But then he goes on to say this. This is my favorite clip. And by favorite, I mean terrifying. This is terrifying. It's hilarious, but also this is holy cow, this is happening. He actually said this. Listen to this from Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, I am science. Dr. Fauci, am science. Holy cow.
Anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, so it's easy to criticize. But they're really criticizing science because I represent science.
If you criticize Dr. Fauci, you're criticizing science because Dr. Fauci is science. Would people buy that as a t-shirt? Like if I just... in a sarcastic, snarky way, put teachers said, Fauci is science. Is that funny? Because again, I don't know if this is hilarious or terrifying. Terrifying is what I think this is. It's hilarious, the fact that he said this out loud to a national interview. If they're criticizing me, they're criticizing science. Despite all of the science. They're criticizing science. Well, if you're talking about science, Dr. Fauci, what about the natural immunity? Big study out of Qatar about natural immunity. 356,000 people participated in this study, and it pretty much mirrored the Israeli study about natural immunity. Said they're 90%. It's 90% as effective as any of the vaccines. Sorry, that number is even higher. I didn't really do the math in my head. The natural immunity is a thing that nobody is talking about at all. So where's that science, Dr. Fauci? Criticizing Dr. Fauci is to criticize science, as if there's one science. Science isn't done by consensus. It's done by what makes sense. Just because you think it and you have some facts to back it up, disregarding all of the other facts doesn't make it true. Dr. Fauci, this is I wanted to play this. This is well, it's not really a clip. It's a tweet of something hilarious that a congressperson said. Eric Swalwell ran for president. Did dismal. What the heck are you doing running for president, dude? You're an unknown congressman. Nobody knows who you are. Are you trying to get a book deal? Are you trying to get an anchor spot on CNN? What's your angle here for running for president, Swalwell? Anyways, Swalwell, the guy who... we won't get into the Chinese mistress thing. But Swalwell tweeted this. This is again coming from one of your Democrats in the House. I'm losing my COVID patience. Okay, we'll start there. You're losing your COVID patience. Thank you, Mr. Swalwell. I'm sorry for burdening your patience. I've tried to reason with the unvaxxed. I directed them to medical pros. I don't judge, but hear them out to steer them to facts. Talking about facts here, Eric Swalwell. The unvaxxed love to say it's about choice. But you know who doesn't have a choice? My 3 kids under the age of 5. Blah, 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 right to not get vaxxed. Then fine, business and government have the right to tell you that your patriotism is not welcome. Or you can't get on a plane. Because what right do you have to expose my kids to COVID? Remember this. He started off this tweet talking about the quote-unquote facts. I then tweeted, I wonder if Eric Swalwell realizes the statistical risk to kids. I don't think that he does. Remember, Eric Swalwell here talking about facts. And I don't think he knows the statistical risk that kids have to COVID, which is minimal to say the least. Kids have more risk to many other everyday things than they do of COVID. Thank God, by the way. Thank God COVID doesn't affect kids the way it does the elderly or the out of shape. But here's the thing. To be... I tweeted this and I wanted to word it. It takes a mighty fortress of ignorance to still be concerned for kids. And again, thank God it doesn't affect kids nearly as bad. Kids have way more risk in other areas. And to say that you don't have, my kids don't have a choice, so you don't have a choice to expose my kids, is to say that you don't know any of the statistical risk revolving around kids, Congressman Swalwell. And seriously, it looks, him tweeting something like this it makes him look like a deranged street person. I don't have a left shoe because that guy said the Pope told me the Cookie Monster on Saturdays doesn't believe me. That's what he sounds like. Sounds like a deranged street person talking about statistical evidence, statistical risk that doesn't exist. Enough picking on Swalwell. Let's get to the mask mandate protests. The massive anti-protests taking place across the world, happening in Rome, happening in Germany, happening in... Was it Switzerland? Austria has crazy mandates going into place there. It's getting pretty bad over there, but big, huge protest. Tens of thousands of people out in Australia and Melbourne protesting their big mandate. Watch this and then we'll talk about it on the other side briefly.
They're protesting a lot of things. The pandemic bill, the controversial pandemic bill the state government's trying to get through Parliament. They're also protesting mandatory vaccines in general, and you guessed it, the Premier, Dan Andrews.
I'm here for freedom, right? We all deserve freedom. The government works for us. Why are they doing what they're doing? And how can they justify it?
It just should be a human choice, something that's got a 99.7% recovery rate. It just should be a choice.
As you can imagine, with a group this size, it's a range of people taking part. You can see that with the flags alone, Australian flags, Polish flags, Greek flags, and US flags, to just name a few, almost matching the array of signs, many emblazoned with Sack Dan Andrews.
There's people that are probably vaccinated, unvaccinated, business owners, non-business owners, fathers, mothers, kids, grandparents. This is people who just want their lives.
So the last guy talking was, I think, the most interesting thing. So if you're not familiar with that, what's going on in Melbourne, citizens of Melbourne have spent over 260 days under lockdown amid a surge in coronavirus cases. Sydney has undergone a lockdown lasting 106 days. The Australian government has imposed a strict travel ban for over 18 months in a bid to keep virus at bay, which isn't possible. But last month, Prime Minister Scott Morrison declared the citizens would be able to return home since the vaccination had reached over 80%. So for 18 months, citizens of Australia couldn't come home. Where do you stay? Where do you live? If you're abroad, do you have to pay for a hotel for a year and a half? Does somebody reimburse you because you can't go home? It has been absolutely ridiculous in Australia. And then what that guy said at the very end probably makes the most sense. He said, there are vaccinated people here, there are unvaccinated people here. There are people of different ideology, different stripes, and we're all coming together to protest the idea that the government has this unimaginable ability to mandate things on its citizens. Where's the freedom in that? First, where's the reasoning? Besides the fact that they're lacking hugely in reasoning for any of this sort of stuff, it's about freedom. That guy said it perfectly. There are people that are pro-vaccine but anti-mandate. That's where a lot of us are. Go get the vaccine. Get the shot. If you want it, get the shot. It is your right to do so. Educate, don't mandate. Because where do you draw the line? When it comes to getting shots, where do you draw the line? Is it now mandated to get a flu shot every year? And also, why are we completely discounting natural immunity? I have no idea. Where do you draw the line is the problem that most people who are out in the streets protesting have. It's not, in a lot of ways, it's not anti-vaccine. It's anti-vaccine mandate, anti-COVID shot mandate. Let me see. Australia, are the lockdowns even working? No, they're not, says Bet. Denny says, don't try that here. People will protect their businesses with their lives. Yeah, they will. And again, I don't want to see that happening. A lot of stuff going on in Australia and around the world. Let me see. Can we get to this? Look, tomorrow we're going to have a bunch of different stuff. Again, I'm trying to get an attorney on to tell us how the law works in California and what you're allowed to do in terms of self-defense and all of that sort of stuff. When it comes to defending your business and defending your family retail shop with the smash and grabs going on. Maybe we'll get Kevin Kiley on. He's a representative in California, also a brilliant attorney to talk about this. See if we can get him either tomorrow or the next day. But that is going to do it for us today. We'll see you right back here, same time, same place. No, not the same place. We'll be broadcasting live from Arizona. If you're craving for more content, I'll be on TPUSA live this afternoon. Geez, in about 5 hours in Phoenix, Arizona. So catch us there, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow to talk about all the news of the day and anything that happens. We'll keep you up to date. Let me see. Should I push the T-shirts? If you want a T-shirt, if you see the hilarious T-shirts that I'm wearing, you got to order them soon so they can get here for Christmas. Great gift for a family member, but you need to order them now so that you don't get stuck without a gift on Christmas. That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. God bless America.